Hello, Blackjack here again, and today I'll be talking about the UA Hero Course Class 1A and their hero costumes. I'm mostly going to be talking about their actual outfits and the designs going on with them, not necessarily their actual physical appearance, unlike All Might. Unlike most other series, My Hero's world is a bit more interesting when it comes to people's clothes. They have a lot more to say about the character, and for a number of reasons. Most important is that their hero costumes are mostly designed around their quirks, so you have a situation where small details can actually say a lot about a character, and most of that information is relegated to extra panels at the end of manga chapters, so you might have missed them. Seeing as there's 20 students aiming to be the number one hero, I'll be breaking this video up into chunks, otherwise we'll be here all day. None of them have quite as much to say as All Might when it comes to their costumes, so I should be able to make a decent length video explaining 5 at a time. And for the sake of simplicity, I'll be doing this in order of seat number, so we'll start with seats 1 through 5. That's Aoyama, Ashido, Asui, call her Sue, Ida, and Uraraka. Fittingly enough, we'll start with the person who definitely thinks of himself as number 1. Seat 1, Yuga Aoyama. Hero name, Can't Stop Twinkling. There's probably not too many words that can be used to better describe his costume other than audacious. And I suppose that's fitting for someone so full of himself and who wants to attract attention. The most notable thing about Aoyama's hero costume is definitely his belt. Not necessarily because it's the biggest, flashiest thing, but it provides an interesting piece of world building that I don't think gets enough attention. While not a perfect term, Aoyama's technically disabled. I say that because without his belt, his quirk can fire off at random. He needs to actually wear it at all times, otherwise he runs the risk of firing his laser accidentally. Though he's perfectly healthy otherwise, he can't live day-to-day life without his belt, unless he wants to run the risk of accidentally hurting somebody. It's an interesting note that doesn't really come up all that often. In fact, the only other time that sort of thing is mentioned is with Hatsume Mei's reintroduction. Part of the job of the support course is to make items that allow people with strange quirks to live a more normal life. This shows that even if one is capable of being a hero, it doesn't mean that their power is perfect. Of course, that might just come down to Aoyama being inspired by Cyclops from the X-Men. It's not confirmed or anything like that, but Scott Summers, Cyclops' real name, also fires lasers, but is unable to control them without a special accessory, in his case glasses. Aoyama wouldn't be the first character to borrow some concepts from the X-Men, and that's even ignoring Ichimoku Sumizu from the Vigilantes. Going back to his hero outfit and considering his weaknesses, Aoyama's actually one of the characters that thought about the weaknesses he had and actively tried to fix them. In addition to his belt, he also had his costume made to work with his quirk, transferring his laser to other points on the costume. This gives him different options to work with, shown in his final exam with 13, even if it didn't really work then. Now that we're done with his actual quirk enhancements, let's talk about the design as a whole. Once again, I'll go back to audacious. It's flashy, over the top, and perfect for a character who that wants all eyes on him. And it even looks like a fancy European knight, and by the looks of it, most of that was actually his idea. You can see his costume details on the panel talking about personal inputs when submitting to the costume designers. He had a pretty clear vision, and one wonders if the European influence might have come from his French leanings. His outfit does have a sort of je ne sais quoi aspect, after all. And lastly, he's got a big flashy cape, complete with sparkles, and Kamina-esque sunglasses that shockingly serve a purpose. While it definitely adds to the flash, those glasses do actually provide some protection so he doesn't blind himself with his twinkling beams. All in all, while it's not my favorite, Aoyama's costume is pretty indicative of his character and his quirk. His ability is to literally shoot a bright, sparkling laser, and his costume exemplifies that same flashiness. They're a perfect match, and the details woven in show that, for all his grandstanding, Aoyama is someone who does acknowledge areas where he could improve. My only real criticism with it is that the knees and shoulders are pretty poor places to put the spare laser points in. They do provide interesting attacks, like with 13, but I feel like the palms of his hands or wrists would be a lot more useful. You can see that the ports are sewn into this inner layer, but why not give him gloves to go with it? Still, I appreciate the thought. Moving on to seat number 2, we have Mina Ashido, aka Pinky, aka Alien Queen. While I do love her actual character design, I feel that her outfit is lacking, to say the least. She's easily one of the most unique and interesting designs of all of the My Hero characters because of her skin and horns, but her hero costume tells you absolutely nothing about her, her power, or her character. It's really only good at providing you information on her fashion choices. Just about every other character tells you at least one thing about their personality or power with their costume, but Ashido doesn't. Her costume doesn't do anything to serve other than an interesting design choice, at least in my opinion. It's not a bad design for a costume, but it doesn't provide anyone with any sort of information. The only thing I can say is that she has acid-proof boots that let her use her quirk in some neat ways, but she wears a similar pair on the sports festivals, so they aren't even unique to her hero outfit. I hate to say it, but I don't like Ashido's costume, at least compared to the ideas present in everyone else's. They all have a bit more thought into how they work, whereas Mina's just looks sort of cool. She doesn't even have any equipment that would help her use her quirk more effectively. Aside from her boots, she can easily get some form of device that would allow her to shoot acid at a distance, but instead she just uses her hands. I will give her credit for liking Alien, though.
My codename? Alien Queen. Hold on, like that horrible monster with the acidic...
Moving on to seat number 3, we have rainy season hero Frobby, Suyu Asui. And if I'm being honest, she has one of the best hero outfits in my opinion, and that's for a few reasons. I think it's easily the most iconic of the girls' costumes. One look and you can easily tell that Sue is a frog. The goggles she wears are definitely indicative of the large eyes of frogs when situated at the top of her head. They don't really seem to have a use beyond that, at least from what we've seen, but they still make a great job of making her instantly recognizable. And that bit on her face also separates her face into two sections, perhaps mimicking the top and bottom half of a frog's head. Like most frogs, her outfit is primarily green, with some added yellow and black to break it up and give her some patterns not unlike actual frogs. Her chest seems to have markings similar to this poison dart frog here, and with the same yellow and black stripes. While Sue is capable of accessing all of the mighty powers of all frogs, her bright green color makes me think her outfit is mostly based on tree frogs. It's mostly the green and the fact that her gloves are differently colored, but I mostly think it's just because that's one of the more iconic types of frogs. Green color, big eyes, what you would see in a cartoon. Her gloves also bring attention to her large hands, which Horikoshi admits gives her a cat-like posture rather than a frog. I mentioned that he likes drawing hands in my last video, and Sue is one of the stanzas of this, with her always holding them out and touching her face often when she speaks. And she also has a pair of boots that make her feet wet, making her look more like a frog, and providing her with flippers for swimming. In terms of hero costumes, I'd say that Sue's outfit is an outstanding costume with no clear weaknesses. Except maybe the cold. Running right along, we go to seat 4, Ida Tenya, hero name Ingenium. Despite looking a bit like a stuffy 30-year-old man, Ida's hero costume is pretty cool and well thought out. It also has the privilege of being one of the only hero costumes we've seen so far that is directly based on someone else's. His entire legacy is one big homage to the Ida family, all of whom are great heroes that wear similar armor. And despite looking like a futuristic set of medieval armor, Ida's costume is actually mostly for show, and it's a lot lighter than it looks for the sake of speed. For example, the huge mufflers making up the stomach area are completely for show and serve no other purpose other than to look cool and iconic. The mufflers are also a direct reference to his older brother Tensei. While his other family members seem to lack them, Tenya's older brother was his direct inspiration in name, costume, and aim of being a hero and what he wants to be. Though all of his family seems to share a similar fashion sense, Tenya went specifically for his older brother, eventually taking on his name after... well, I'm sure you know by this point. Above everything, Ida's costume is about speed. He specifically asked for a streamlined design so that it wouldn't detract from his speed at all. And his helmet even takes direct inspiration from professional racing helmets, which are used to cut through wind by bikers and joggers. It's safe to say that a few liberties were taken to make Ida's helmet look a bit more shonen. Ida is also one of the characters that thought to enhance their quirk through their costume. In addition to bringing attention to his massive engine-enhanced calves, his leg armor also acts as a cooling system, letting him use his engines more without strain. Overusing his quirk makes him stall out, so putting in some devices to assist with that definitely fits with the analytical mind of a guy like Ida. It also gives you a clear indication of the kind of stuff that he can do. One look at those legs will let you know that he's a speed demon. All in all, I like the thought that's gone into Ida's costume. I'm not exactly an expert on aerodynamics, but this outfit doesn't seem like the best design for speed, but then again, I do like that his costume has a basis in his family legacy. Ida's also a character with a prototype costume design that looks a bit more streamlined, but boy, does that not look like something a hero would wear. Cool, yes, but not very reassuring to someone that needs saving. An actual speed demon. Anyway, we'll see just how well this Ida measures up to his family legacy. And moving on to the last character for this episode, we have 5th seat Uraraka Ojiko, hero name Uravity. Ochiko's hero costume is a bit back and forth for me. Horikoshi mentioned that Ochiko's main design consideration was her being cute. And that does come across in her outfit, but it's still not a perfect representation of her powers or personality. Admittedly, a skin-tight outfit wasn't even her choice, so kind of there, but the rest doesn't really seem zero gravity either. I guess it does look a bit like some sort of future astronaut outfit, fitting with her love of space and zero gravity theme. And we can actually see that this has been added after her design. She's another one with a prototype outfit. It's similar, but changed into a more cutesy aesthetic. As a quick aside, in her earliest drafts, Ojiko was originally envisioned as having a gigantification quirk. Horikoshi decided this was a bit limiting and relegated it to Mountain Lady. A neat thing that you can see in her beta design is how Horikoshi probably knew about her weaknesses long before her design was finalized. How can I tell that? Well, if you look at this explanation of her hero gear, you can see that she's always had those big armbands, along with the helmet. They're used to reduce nausea, as overusing her quirk makes her nauseous. It's done via pressure points, via the wrists and the neck area. You can kind of see that on her beta outfit, but the helmet works as well. And lastly, her large poofy boots also serve to work with her ability to float, reducing impact when she takes heavy falls. They look a bit hard to walk in, but I suppose it's better than the alternative. Well, I don't think Ochiko's hero outfit is that bad, I don't think it's that great either. It's definitely pretty indicative of her look, if nothing else, round and cute, but that's kind of all it tells you. It doesn't really say anything about her quirk. It does have a good amount of thought put into how it works with the quirk, which makes it more effective. You wouldn't be able to tell the notes about the pressure points without being told, but to know that they're there improves the design immensely in my opinion. And with that, we should probably end part 1 of the series. If you want to hear me talk about the next 5, Ojiro, Kaminari, Kirishima, Kodo, and Sato, go ahead and subscribe. And if you like my video, leave a comment. If not, let me know what I can work on. And if you're really feeling it, consider subscribing to my Patreon. Blackjack out.